Kind of crazy day today. I caught the move down, move up, and then move back down again. And yes, I'm wearing a freaking Jackie Chan shirt. Um, what I think I'm gonna start doing is doing like trade recaps, um, because I think I'm at like a key turning point in my trading, and this is the same reason why I record myself taking the trades and then cut it up and post it on like Instagram and TikTok for the same reason. I feel like it helps my training, and I'm also at like a key point, and it's like cool to document it in real time, see my thoughts while I'm taking the trade. Um, because like in a couple months, years from now, I can look back. You guys can look back and see like how I was trading. So today was a really good day on the combine. On the express, not so much. So the express is what really matters. So I lost 150 bucks there. It's still up like 880 bucks, but I basically tried to go short. And here, I was waiting for the short entry. I show you here, we were at the golden pocket from this swing high to this low. You can see we hit the golden pocket there, and my freaking dog. Uh, Once we get to a key area, I just wait for a strong move in and out of it, or an inverse fair value gap. In this case, you can see strong candle down. So what I usually do, which is a mistake typically, sometimes it works out, but I entered on this candle's close just anticipating the strength would continue and the inverse fair value gap would form. Uh, but I'm trying to wait for the inverse fair value gap to confirm because those are the trades that have the highest win rate. So it makes sense to wait for it to confirm. So I entered on the candle close and exited like a couple seconds later for like a $15 loss. And then once it confirmed, I re-entered. It started kind of just not doing anything, and I realized, okay, this realistically isn't really a strong push down. If I entered and then it had another candle down, I would have held, but that didn't happen. So I sold for like I was down like $35 after that. And then I kept waiting, waiting, saw this candle. It was strong, but at that point we were no longer we were kind of disrespecting the golden pocket. Also on the high time frame, you can see it's kind of messy because of the freaking notes. You can see we were kind of already above this 15-minute fair value gap. Um, so it didn't look as clean. We did have an hourly fair value gap, but it wasn't tapping the halfway point of it, which would be like the key area. Um, so it was just like, it didn't look ideal. So for that reason, I just kept waiting. I was watching Nasdaq at the same time. Nasdaq was looked weaker, so it was forming divergence. I can show you. It'd be easier on here. So here you can see ES higher high at 1 p.m. and Nasdaq lower high at 1 p.m. Nasdaq was also, this is last week's new week opening gap, and you can see we have been hanging around it and kind of like rejecting it today. So that was another reason to go short. And basically, I was just trying to be patient because it didn't look ideal. But once, zoom in, once I saw once again another push down, this was a pretty strong candle. The fair value gap was pretty good. Whereas here it was one strong candle and then it reversed immediately. Here it kind of continued. So uh, I went short on this candle. I when I entered short, I wanted to enter like 42 ish, and then right when I clicked it, that's when the candle literally dumped down to here. So uh, I guess it only was at 1 point and 1.25 off from where I wanted to enter, just because it dropped right when I entered, but it's whatever. Then it starts to chop around, kind of, another long wick. Once it dipped here, made this swing high, another strong candle. Typically, that's where I like to add to my trades. I was hesitant to add just because, again, I didn't feel super confident about this trade. It is kind of, you can see in this consolidation type of choppiness range. So realistically, I shouldn't have added, but 4 micros on the ES wouldn't have been huge profits. So honestly, I think that's why I added. Um, and the trade did look good, so I was confident in it. But I shouldn't have added because it was choppy. I didn't feel super good about it, so I should have left my stop where it was, which I think I had it above this swing high, or maybe it was above this candle. Uh, yeah, it was above this candle. So because it was like not ideal, I should have left the stop at the most ideal place for that reason. So it's kind of a mistake, kind of unlucky, you could say, but you could see it stopped me out, reversed. That's when I went short on the combine because I was like, you know what, I could only take 1 trade per session on the funded. That's rules I put in place to preserve my capital. But on the combine, uh, I have less rules. So I took it. It dumped. I sold near these lows and then held one and sold it right before close. So the way I trade on the combine is if it's not an ideal setup or if it's outside of my time of day, which is 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. and 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. This is in New York time, Eastern Standard Time. Um, if it's outside of that time of day, then I take it on the combine because it's like I have those rules in place again. So on the combine, I don't trade with those rules. I allow myself to trade. It allows me to be more patient and wait for an ideal setup instead of just waiting and like being like, man, that was a good setup and I missed it. Because last week that happened like twice in a row, and then I started taking it on the combines, and it's been working. So I initially went short here because over here on Nasdaq we had a 15-minute fair value gap. We had the high of this new week opening gap. We also swept liquidity, these two previous highs. Not to mention, I mean, we're in a super strong downtrend today, right? Divergence. Nasdaq made a higher high, ES made a lower high. So that's a bearish divergence. And then if I zoom in, you can see we formed a small inverse value gap. The confluences were pretty good, and it's just a very strong downtrend day. So I entered. When the strength continued, I added. Uh, and just like that first trade, I lowered my stop. Barely got stopped out. Literally pretty similar to that first trade I showed you. And then once it dipped once more, the trade idea was still solid. So I just re-entered, took profit there. Uh, Almost got stopped out here at break even. I was using a soft stop, but it didn't. It was a tick away from hitting it, anyways. So I got lucky, and then sold here once it started kind of like chopping around more, and then I exited here and went long. The reason I did that is because at this point we were forming divergence again. So here we made a lower low, right? You can see this is obviously a lower low. If I show you ES low, or sorry, Nasdaq made a higher low, like an obvious higher low. Here, ES obviously like it's a lower low, which is pretty crazy divergence. It doesn't happen very often. Um, so we had divergence. This was also the golden pocket on the high time frame. So this swing low to today's swing high. Look at that. Golden pocket perfectly tapped it. And what's the golden pocket perfectly lined with? This 15-minute fair value gap right here. Freaking beautiful. And then not to mention we swept liquidity here. Basically, I saw these 3 strong candles. Divergence. It did also form a inverse fair value gap right here. You can see fair value gap, and that's overlapped with this one. So I exited the shorts on NASDAQ, entered the longs on ES. And again, here's the executions on NASDAQ. You can see exited. And then entered the longs on ES, which I think my freaking internet keeps cutting in and out. I have to refresh. So you can see I sold near these highs because I was literally just looking for a quick move up to sweep these highs. Sold the rest here. And then here, remember again, on the funded account, that is where I started to go short, look for shorts. So that's where I exited the rest of the longs, and that's that. So I'm gonna continue to keep these trades separate on the combine, and if I pass, I'm 1,000 away from passing it. I'm just gonna continue to trade you like that because it's been working, and I think it'd be cool to have 2 different accounts that I trade differently. In my opinion, it wouldn't make sense that I pass the combine trading it one way, and then when I get funded, I start trading it differently. So I would just keep trading, keep trading it the same way I am now, which is I still take good setups, but if it's outside of my time periods that I look for trades, or maybe it's like something is a little bit like off with it, that it's not super perfect or clean. Uh, the only thing I will not allow is like just pure gambling trades. I've done that before with combines, and I really just want to avoid that completely because for me, it leads to me taking more emotional gambling type trades on the funded account. And I don't want any of that. I'm done with emotional trades, emotional trading errors, FOMO, greed. So I've been trading well since I got my funded account back up after last week's big win. So I'm just going to keep at it. Today, traded well. The trade ended up working, obviously. It's just, I added, which I probably shouldn't have done. It wasn't terrible, but I also just got a little unlucky. Perfectly stopped me out. The only other thing I'll say is if I really wanted to inflate my freaking ego, I would count these trades in my trading log from the combine. But I'm not. Because I'm pretty sure that whole $2,000 is pretty much mostly me, I think. And then maybe like 2 signals. So, if I wanted to make myself feel good, I would be like, oh, well, I made $1,800 or $1,500. And I could go on freaking social media and be like, my P&L's at its highs. But realistically, those trades weren't on the funded, so I don't think it counts. See how the rest of the week goes. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned.